In 1989, if you wanted a brand new Ferrari Testarossa, the fastest, most famous supercar money could buy, you'd write a check for around $160,000. If you wanted a modified Mercedes Coupe instead, a heavy four-seater built around a design that was already a decade old, you'd need more than $200,000. That's not a typo. A German luxury car, built by a workshop most people had never heard of, cost more than the Italian icon on every poster on every teenager's wall. Why would anyone in their right mind pay more for a 2-ton German sedan than for a Ferrari? The answer starts with two men, a small workshop, and an engine that Mercedes-Benz itself refused to build. Mercedes in the 1980s had a reputation, and the company guarded it religiously. Executives told the press flatly that Mercedes did not build race cars for the street. This was the decade of excess, the decade of big money and bigger egos. And while the rest of the automotive world was chasing horsepower and headlines, Mercedes was selling something else: quiet competence, safety, restraint. A car for a diplomat, not a getaway driver. But there was a workshop watching all of that restraint very closely and quietly wondering how far it could be pushed. That workshop was AMG, and it wasn't part of Mercedes at all. It was founded in 1967 by two former Daimler-Benz engineers, Hans Werner Aufrecht and Erhard Melcher, working out of an old mill near Affalterbach, Germany. The initials stand for Aufrecht, Melcher, and Grossesbach, Aufrecht's hometown. They started out building racing engines on the side after Mercedes shut down its factory motorsport program in the mid-1960s, and the two men couldn't let go of the itch. By the 1980s, AMG had built a real reputation modifying Mercedes engines for private customers, technically independent, completely unauthorized, and very, very good at what they did. In 1985, Mercedes gave AMG something to work with. The new W126 generation of the S-Class Coupe, the 560 SEC, arrived with a fresh 5.6-liter V8 under the hood, codenamed M117, producing around 300 horsepower in European trim. For Mercedes, that was a milestone. For AMG, it was a starting point. They tore the engine down and immediately hit a wall, and the wall wasn't money. It was physics. The M117 used a single overhead camshaft with two valves per cylinder, a simple, durable, old-fashioned design that physically couldn't gulp enough air at high RPM to unlock real power. To fix it properly, you needed a completely different cylinder head. Dual overhead cams, 4 valves per cylinder. Mercedes had already looked at that idea internally and said no. Too radical, too race car, not what an S-Class buyer wanted. So Erhard Melcher decided to build the head himself. Automotive journalists at the time genuinely called it reckless. A tiny workshop with none of the resources of a company like Daimler-Benz was going to design, cast, and hand machine its own 32-valve cylinder heads for an engine that already worked perfectly well as it was. If the head warped under heat or cracked or simply didn't flow the way Melcher calculated on paper, AMG's entire reputation was on the line with it. It worked. By 1986 and 1987, AMG had bored and stroked the M117 out from 5.6 liters to a full 6.0, fitted with the new quad-cam 32-valve heads built at Affalterbach, along with stronger internals to survive the abuse. The result was somewhere around 385 horsepower and roughly 420 pound-feet of torque, more than twice the torque of the stock engine, delivered at half the RPM. This wasn't a tuned engine anymore. It was a different animal wearing the same badge, and that animal did not fit inside the car it came from. The stock 560 SEC's tires and bodywork were built for a comfortable, quiet coupe, not for a V8 trying to put 420 pound-feet through the rear wheels. AMG's engineers needed tires wide enough to actually put that torque down, and those tires didn't fit under Bruno Sacco's elegant factory-designed fenders, so AMG cut them off. They replaced the stock steel bodywork with dramatically flared fiberglass fenders and wider door panels, wind tunnel tested, aggressive, unmistakable. The car that came out the other side looked like it belonged in a different, meaner universe than the standard SEC parked next to it. Enthusiasts and journalists started calling it simply the wide body. All of that work, the engine, the heads, the bodywork, the suspension, stacked on top of the price of a brand new 560 SEC, pushed the total cost past $200,000, and people paid it anyway. Oil money from the Gulf, Wall Street bonuses looking for somewhere loud to go, and, as it turned out, one of AMG's single biggest markets in the late 1980s was Japan, where collectors and business tycoons riding the peak of the country's bubble economy ordered them by the handful, some fully custom, right down to hand-painted leather gauge faces and bespoke paint colors. Historians estimate estimate fewer than 50 genuine 6.0 wide bodies were ever built. Today, the survivors sell at auction for anywhere from the low hundreds of thousands into the $700,000 range. R.M. Sotheby's sold one for $720,000 in Miami against a $275,000 high estimate. But back in Stuttgart, Mercedes was not celebrating. A tiny outside workshop was cutting up the company's flagship coupe, slapping on fenders no engineer at Mercedes had approved, and selling the result for more than the car it started as. Worse, car magazines were putting this unauthorized creation on their covers and calling it a gangster's car. That was the opposite of everything Mercedes brand stood for. So Mercedes drew a line. Any car that went through AMG for this kind of work, they announced, would immediately void its factory warranty. Full stop. It was meant to scare customers away and starve the small workshop out of existence. AMG's answer wasn't to back down. It was to go bigger. They took the exact same 6.0-liter, 32-valve monster they'd built for the SEC Coupe and dropped it into something smaller and lighter, the mid-size W124 sedan, a car built for traveling salesmen and company fleets, not for a 385-horsepower V8. American road testers, when they got their hands on it, didn't know quite what to call it, so they just called it the Hammer. On the German Autobahn, journalists from Automotive and Sport clocked the Hammer at more than 300 kilometers per hour, over 186 miles per hour, in a four-door family sedan. In the United States, Car and Driver's own test car hit 178 miles per hour in a straight line, at the time faster in a straight line than almost anything else on the road that could also carry 4 adults and their luggage. AMG had built, unofficially, the fastest production sedan in the world, using an engine developed by a company that had spent 2 years trying to publicly disown it. And the timing could not have been worse for Mercedes, because in 1987, BMW dropped its own bomb, the 750iL, the first German 512 in a road car since before the Second World War, a direct shot at Mercedes' claim to be the undisputed king of German luxury. Suddenly, the S-Class, Mercedes' flagship, its proudest achievement, had a straight 6 or an 8-cylinder engine, while its biggest domestic rival was advertising 12 cylinders. Mercedes needed an answer, and needed it fast. Building a new flagship engine from a blank sheet of paper takes years. Mercedes didn't have years. There was only one place in the world that already had the answer sitting on a shelf in a Falterbach, and it belonged to the workshop Mercedes had just spent 2 years trying to kill. In 1990, Mercedes-Benz swallowed its pride and signed an official cooperation agreement with AMG. Cars built by AMG would finally be sold through Mercedes dealerships, backed by full factory warranties. Official at last. The rebellious little workshop that Mercedes had tried to strangle out of existence became the seed of what is today Mercedes-AMG, the performance division behind every AMG badge on the road right now. Full ownership came years later, in 1999, but 1990 was the moment the war officially ended, and AMG won. The 6.0 widebody itself didn't survive the transition. It was a product of a specific, unrepeatable moment, a tiny team with no rulebook, hand-building the wildest thing they could dream up before any corporate committee could say no. Today's AMG cars roll off proper production lines by the thousands, packed with screens and driver-assist software and hybrid powertrains. But go looking in the classic car market, and an original documented 560 SEC 6.0 AMG widebody will still cost you more than most people's houses, not because it's the fastest thing you can buy in 2026, but because it's the last true relic of the moment. A workshop nobody had heard of stood up to one of the biggest car companies on earth and won. So here's the real question worth sitting with. Right now, a 1,000 horsepower electric sedan can hit 60 miles per hour in under 2 seconds without breaking a sweat. Will any of them ever be worth $720,000 at auction 35 years from now? Or did cars like this one get to be legends precisely because nobody with a spreadsheet was ever allowed anywhere near them?